Good morning, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt with Illinois WorkNet. Also on the line today with me, we have Chelsea Jones, also with Illinois WorkNet. And we have a wonderful webinar for you today. I love this resume builder tool, and I am just so happy that I get to share it with you all and those of you who are listening as well. We do have some recorded videos on our YouTube channel, so you can please go visit there and take advantage of that. Today we will only be talking about one section of the Resume Builder tool, and we have a couple of other webinars next week where we will be featuring each of the particular sections. If you have not already taken the opportunity to answer our polling questions, we would appreciate you doing that today. And if you have not downloaded the files from the file pod, you can do that as well. It will take you to another screen, so make sure that you come back to the webinar. Again, today we are just talking about one section of the Resume Builder tool. So any other questions that you might have, you might want to hold off on asking those. Okay, let's give you just one more moment to answer those poll questions. And we have quite a few people that have not yet used the inventory surveys on Illinois WorkNet. Okay, we're going to minimize some of these tools and poll questions. And thank you for sharing with us. And I am going to share my screen. We'll make this just a little bit bigger. What I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize this chat pod a little bit here so that we can have more screen for the demonstration here. All right. So can everybody see my screen okay? If you can, please raise your hand. All right, great. That's wonderful, wonderful. All right, so what we do today, now I'm going to actually demonstrate live, and the handout that is in the file pod is screenshots and different things to help you follow some directions. So then as we're going through, you can just watch today, and we'll show you live everything that we're doing. So what we first need to do in most situations is have an Illinois WorkNet account. And it's super simple to get one. All you have to do is sign up, give us an email address, and you're in like Flynn. Once you are signed up, then all you have to do is log in. So I saved the login screen today so that I could do that and show you that it is easy to do on a regular basis. Sign in. Once you sign in, you may notice that my screen changes just a little bit so that I now have this ribbon across the top that takes me to a couple of different places. My dashboard is one of them, messages that I've received, bookmarks that I've made in Illinois WorkNet, the resume tool itself, and my skills and interest surveys. You can get to the resume tool by clicking on the resumes here, or by going to your dashboard, clicking on the resumes here, or from your profile, you can access it by going to, I'm going to let this load up here for a second. My Tools, and on the right-hand side, you'll see Resume Builder. So once you click into Resume Builder, in any of those spots, it redirects you to the Resume Builder. And we do use the Optimal Resume tool, but we love that it is incorporated into our Illinois WorkNet tools. You will initially land, if you have not set up your account yet, you will initially land on a screen that will want some information for you. And then based on the information that you enter into these screens, it will automatically fill the fields on any of the resumes that you create. So this is a super easy way to not have to retype all of your information. Then you have a screen that it will take you to that talks about your career preferences. And again, based on the information that you enter into these areas, it will automatically give you information based on those industries and those job functions that you have entered into the system. Once you agree to all of that, you can save and continue, and it will then take you to the Document Center. And the Document Center is the repository of all of those documents that you have created. It has resumes, letters, portfolios, assessments that we're going to talk about today, interview practicing, video resumes, and a little mini website that you can create. So all of this information is available for you. What I'd like to have my customers and people that I'm teaching about how to do this, I like to have them begin with the assessments because it lets you think a little bit about what it is that you need to focus on in your career past and where you want to go with the future. So to do a couple of different things with this, you can create a new assessment or you can access one of your older ones. And as you can see here, I've got 11 different assessments, and it will show, if I click on that collapse or review, it will show me all of them. What I want to do is I want to start with showing you how to create a brand new one. Now let me see if I can make my screen just a little bit bigger. Does that help a little bit, everybody? Okay, so what we do is we click on the Create New Assessment. This gives you some options that you might want to do. It gives you a skills inventory, an accomplishment sheet, and a proficiency list. I'm going to start with the skills inventory and then come back to the proficiency list in a little bit. So I click on the skills inventory, and it's going to ask me for a name. So I'm going to name it as webinar demonstration. But you can name it as anything that you want that would be you. Your name would be probably the most useful thing to do. But you might also have a skills inventory for a couple of different career pathways. So you might want to label it as that particular pathway as well. I'm going to begin the assessment. And as you can see, I have a whole list of things that are available to me. A couple of things that I want to let you know is there's 35 skills listed. Some of these skills are listed because of the information that I put in that career field when I was filling out my information. If I put management, it's going to give me different skills than if I put non-management type kind of duties. What you can do with all of this is take a look at each of the skills that are there. Say I don't ever do any programming. I can check that box and I can delete that selected skill. So then it will ask me, do I want to really delete that? And I say, okay. Then that skill list just went from 35 to 34. Easy peasy. Now, the next thing is you might have no experience with volunteer work, or you may have no experience with membership activities, or you may not have any coursework in a particular item. So say I don't have any experience with memberships or activities, I can delete this entire column. Now, I'm not going to do that right now, but you can delete the entire column. If you have other experiences, you can always add another column, or you can add more skills. So maybe I want to add back program management instead of programming. So I add that skill. It adds it into my list right down at the bottom of the list. Maybe I want to add another experience, and it's going to be military. And I can add that experience in here, and it shows up on my last column. If I don't want that there anymore, I can always delete that column, and it will ask me to confirm that. All right. Next thing that we want to do is we want to talk about why this is important. One of the things that you want to be able to do when you are in an interview situation is be able to come up with ideas and experiences that you can share with that person that is interviewing you. So if I go through this whole exercise and I see coordination, and somebody asks me about coordinating a different item, and right here it's saying, it's giving me a tip as to what that coordination means. It says adjusting actions in relation to others' actions. So I used to, on some volunteer work, I used to coordinate an entire employee luncheon for 800 people. So on, I would put in a little note here, so while, oh, and you want to make sure that you type everything properly. So while serving as chairperson of the employee recognition committee, I coordinated the successful recognition luncheon for 800 people. It was a big luncheon, trust me. So then I can save that, and it serves as a reminder for me. I can fill in even more details if I want to do that. And you'll see why when you watch the website webinar that we're going to have next week. So as you're going through this, add these items. If after you have gone through all of them and all of the list, you notice that maybe you don't have anything at all in the courses column, you can delete that whole column. Or maybe if you don't have anything in one of the skills, you can delete the skill. But my suggestion to you would be, work with a career navigator or an Illinois workNet career resource room person and have them talk with you. Maybe they'll come up with an idea after having a conversation with you about how you might be able to use or represent those skills in this tool, in this resume builder tool. So this is just example after example of things that are required based, again, on what I put into my information at the beginning of my profile. The next section that's also in here is called abilities. Skills and abilities are very similar, but they do have a couple of different meanings in there with them. So my written comprehension, it means the ability to read and understand information and ideas presented in writing. My speech clarity. If I'm not able to speak clearly, they would not have me presenting on these webinars. I know I stumble across my words every once in a while, but there are things that you need to be able to do when you are doing particular jobs, and this happens to be one of them. So if I were to say in here, add, same thing, it has speech clarity. I'm going to type in here that I frequently present on webinars and to groups of business and individuals about a number of topics. Public speaking is one of my keyword skills. So I can save this. Now, if you noticed, I can also edit these down the road. And if you see across the top, it has some WYSIWYG type kind of text modifiers. So if I want to say that I want to highlight this public speaking, and I want to make it italic and bold, it will take care of that for me. And I can also then add some topics, for example, and I can add a bulleted list. Then I can also add a link. I can remove the link. I can change the color of the font. I can insert a table. So this is giving me a whole lot of really great variety to enhance the things that I put in my skills and abilities on my resume builder tool. I'm going to save that. And then again, I would go through the entire list. I would take a look at each of the columns. If you notice, the military is still in here. I deleted it from above. I might want to leave it here. I'm going to delete it just because I was never fortunate to serve in the military. And so you can see here a whole different string of items. I would take the time to review each of these, try to think of items that you would work for you on all of these things, especially if they're showing up in job descriptions for jobs that you're applying to. All right, so I'm going to go back to the top. One beautiful thing about this tool is it saves as you go. So you don't have to worry about saving the whole piece. If you save each section, then you are done with that section. You don't have to worry about it. One of the things that you can do, and this is available in all of the sections of the Resume Builder tool, you can rename your skill assessment. You can delete it if you don't want it. You can clone it, so you can make a duplicate one and name it as something else. So if you want to focus on, maybe you're focusing on two different career pathways. Maybe you are a dislocated worker and you have retrained, but you're still maybe interested in your original career pathway. You can have two different skill sets going and use both of them to your advantage. You can share this with someone. You can use this link to share this off with somebody. If you are working with a career navigator in the EPIC program, or if you're working with a career counselor through WIOA, there is a way for both of those career navigator type people to see what you're doing in your optimal resume section of your profile. And if they ask you to do something with that, then you can do what they asked you to do, and then they can see it without you having to share the link with them. You can create a to-do list. This is available for any section on the Resume Builder, and then you can switch between the skills assessments. For example, you may find a really great example that you came up with just now, and you've got 2 different skills assessments. You may want to copy and paste that language that you just wrote into that one skill assessment and add it to one of the other ones. And here you can select between the different ones and make that change. Okay, I'm going to return to the Document Center, but I'm going to go back to the assessment section, and I want to show you the last piece of the assessment section, which is the Proficiency List. This is just a little bit different, so I'm going to name this as Webinar Demonstration Proficiency. I'm going to begin this assessment. What you do with this is select a career pathway, a job family that is populated by ONET. So I'm going to go into, let's see if they have a marketing one. And I don't see that opportunity, so I'm going to pick Arts, Designs, Entertainment, Sports, and Media. I'm going to select and continue. And I see here that for audio and visual video equipment technicians, there's 55 tools and technologies. For broadcast technicians, there's 47. For designers, there's none. If I go down to film and video editors or graphic designers, there's 47 tools. So I'm going to pick graphic designers because I do a little bit of graphic design work in what I do right now. I'm going to select and continue. And what this has now done is it's given me another list of different skills that might need to be added based on job descriptions that you're applying to. So 35mm camera, I can add a proficiency level here. So if I click Add, I can say, what is my proficiency level? I'm pretty advanced with a 35mm. I can rate my skill as very good. Click the down arrow here. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. I can say 25 years of experience. So then I can save that item. Then I can go down through each of the items. I can look at Adobe Systems, Adobe Acrobat software. If I want to add a comment, I can add a comment here and say, I resisted moving to the digital SLR for many years, but still own manual equipment and work with it. So that would give somebody the idea of what it is that I can do. I can go through each of these items. I can put number of years, how advanced, or if I'm a beginner. Maybe it's something that the software is not used much anymore. So Adobe Dreamweaver, I know how to use it, but it's not really in the marketplace anymore. So I would just say intermediate. I would give it 10 years of experience with it and save. And here I can always say I am more proficient with WordPress, but still have knowledge and skills concerning Dreamweaver. You can always go back in and edit. If the language isn't right, work with your Career Navigator to make sure that your sentence structure is appropriate and that it will represent you in the best fashion. As you're going back down through the list, again, if there is not the item on here that you need to use, you can add it from the top of the list. You can remove an item that is not appropriate, and then it will save all of that information as you go. Today, that is what we're talking about. We're talking about the assessments. So if I go back to my document center, I can always access that from the top of the list, or I can go up to the very top and access the document center there as well. As I look at my list, I can see that I have the webinar demonstration, and I have the webinar demonstration proficiency. I can go back into that list and make more changes or add more items. So it's a great way to keep everything in one place and make sure that it's up to date on a regular basis. Nancy's asking, are we going to show how it populates to the resume? And right now, we're not going to do that. We're going to do that on one of the future webinars that we're talking about. Today, we're focusing only on the assessments. And so we'll build all of those pieces together at the end when we talk about the website option, because that's where it really populates the resume. And speaking of our resume webinar, that will be at on Tuesday at, Chelsea's going to help me out and type in what time, and we will be talking about the resume. And now that one will be closer to an hour webinar, so we need to make sure that you've got time, or else we hope that you are able to watch the recording. So our webinar will be on Tuesday, May 23rd at 11 a.m. Do we have any other questions from the audience about the assessment piece on our Illinois WorkNet Resume Builder? All right. I do not see anybody typing right now. All right. Just to review, from the assessments, when we look at all of them, we have the skills, which are the accomplishments that you do in these different areas. And then we have abilities. And the last piece of that is the proficiency list, where you can talk about how adept you are at a different skill, and that you have, you can always put examples into that section. So let me go back to this proficiency one. And you can put your accomplishments in the comment section. All right. Oh, I just read the note from Nancy about your participant is very excited to use this. That's great. That's great to use. Chelsea also put in the registration if you want to register for the other webinars in the series. They're all happening Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week. We will share them in the YouTube playlist, and they will be referenced in multiple locations. So, seeing no other questions, it is 10:30. We will end the recording if we don't see any other questions come in. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time. sharing it with us.